We have patients coming to us from other clinics who have lost 40, 50, even 60 pounds on GLP-1s. They hit their goal weight, everyone around them is celebrating, and they feel absolutely terrible. Weight loss and feeling good are not the same thing. And nobody prescribing GLP-1s right now is talking about what they do to your hormones. That's what we're covering today. If you're on a GLP-1 or thinking about it, keep listening, because by the end of this episode, you'll understand something your prescriber probably doesn't. Welcome back to In the Gray Area with Rev Health. I'm Britni.
And I'm Travin.
And this is a topic, gosh, I mean, we probably hear multiple times a day even.
Yeah. Well, I like talking about it because I've said before, I think GLP-1s are the drug of the century. I think they are amazing tools. They're highly effective, but probably at least 70% of people are probably using them wrong.
Yeah.
I bet, maybe even more depending on, who they're working with. I know there's a ton of, self, use where people getting them on research sites and underground or through their friends and stuff. So there's a lot of people that experiment that way. But even if you just strip all that away and talk about the people using them under a medical professional's care, it's still widely utilized incorrectly.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, we hear it all the time. We'll see local clinics advertising, we'll give you high doses and we won't make you wait, stuff like that. And
that should be the goal or something.
Yeah.
Which is it's the exact opposite. And we know, without a doubt, the higher the dose you're on and the longer that you're on that high dose, the more chance you're just going to have a rebound.
Yeah.
When you come off, and especially if you're not utilizing hormones with it. But then again, most of the time when you are utilizing hormones, you don't need those high doses in the first place.
And we see that all the time. I mean, we'll be walking around town and see people that we've known that have never been, thinner and healthier. And here they are, they've lost a ton of weight. And then you have their skin, their face. I think that's one of the main things I see is they just look gauntlet.
Yeah.
And it's sad. I mean, we have quite a few patients that we're working with hormones, and we have started them on lower doses of Tirzepatide. And it's crazy. We have the one patient that she's losing maybe sometimes it's 2 pounds a week, sometimes it's 3, sometimes it's 1. But on average, throughout the year with addressing her hormones and addressing everything else, she'll have lost, I think, close to 100 pounds.
I know that's that's the crazy thing. And it's we talked about last episode with, small changes adding up. And I think that's, if you step out and take a longer view of it, that 2 pounds a week doesn't sound like a lot to most people. But then, like you said, that's close to 100 pounds at the end of a year, if you can maintain that consistently. And the nice thing about that is that, I think when we talk about these drugs, there's a difference between losing weight and changing your body composition, right? Where your body composition should be the priority, because it's, you mentioned it, you see the people that lose a bunch of weight, but they lose a bunch of lean tissue as well. And so, you lost 30 or 40 pounds, but your body composition in terms of body fat didn't really change that much. And that's why you don't look good. That's why your skin's sagging. That's why your face looks sunken in. That's why you look like you don't really have any lean tissue, because you don't. You're skinny fat, like we like to say, versus, doing it, optimizing your hormones, doing it correctly. And you can, you lose body fat and, believe it or not, maintain and build muscle at the same time. And that's the correct way to do it.
I know it's so hard though, because we always talk about influencers and social media, but I have people that will start on it and they'll call and they're frustrated because they're like, oh, I've only lost a couple pounds. I lost 2 pounds last week. I haven't lost any this week. And so it's like everything else. You have to put in the work too.
Yeah.
So, making better choices of food intake, making sure you're moving your body, getting some exercise is really important as well. Keeping that high protein diet and making sure you're getting enough nutrients. It's not just a quick fix shot. And some people abuse it that way.
That's what they want. That's what they're looking for. And I've said this before. I think to someone that has a lot of weight to lose, let's say 100 pounds, for example, right? That's a significant amount of weight to lose. And, you can ramp up the dose and just crush your appetite and start losing weight relatively quick and fat, big amounts of weight. And I think maybe to that person, they're viewing that as progress because they have so much weight to lose and they keep seeing the scale go down and they keep seeing their body get smaller. But, and I know that's tempting, but that isn't really, the healthy
That's
or
not the
proper
healthy way to do it.
that you want to do it. But like, I could see the allure and even the perception to that person that is the right way to do it, because they are losing so much weight. And to them, they're just seeing like such a drastic change in weight and just body size in general, that they're viewing that as a positive, direction.
I know. And it's sad because a lot of times people that are friends with people like that are trying to do things the right way, or even using the GLP-1s, and they're only seeing the like 1 pound, 2 pound, 3 pound, they get really frustrated because they're like, well, my friend lost 20 pounds in 1 month. And so I feel like we're constantly trying to overcome, like, again, this misinformation and people abusing something that actually is an incredible tool for a lot of people.
Yeah. Well, it's a difference between, that's the difference between like having your patient's best interest in mind and just purely being driven by profits. Because when you see these clinics and they are advertising that, like you said, advertising like getting to the highest dose possible for the cheap, that, like we talked about, that isn't healthy. That isn't having your patient's best interest in mind when you're advertising that clearly. But that's like marketing wise, that's going to pull in a lot of people, and you're just going to like increase profits. And so to me, that's a huge red flag if a place is offering or like advertising something like that. Another
thing that we don't talk about a lot is like, I hear this, like the kids were telling me about one of their friends' moms that took her brother-in-law's like Tirzepatide or Semaglutide or something because he's diabetic, doesn't even know what kind of dose. It's not a prescription for her. And she took it, ended up in the ER. Like not knowing what kind of dose she's on.
How did she end up in the ER?
Well, my guess would be, because it does slow down like your digestive system, is that she probably couldn't go to the bathroom or something. I didn't ask a lot of questions, but it's like, I mean, who knows? If you're just taking somebody else's prescription, you don't know what dose. It's not even a starting dose. Like that's scary too.
Yeah. Well, we see that all the time. It's like going back to the research world and people ordering it online. And I know there's like, we always get a lot of pushback in the comments of, people having good success and that they use this source and it's great and blah, blah, blah. But like a lot of people don't know how to reconstitute these peptides. They don't know how to like do the calculations, like you said. And so they're significantly like overshooting their dose or what they think that they're doing. And I know that that's what's caused a lot of harm, and people end up, in the ER and going to hospital in those situations. And it's like, it gives these drugs a bad name because those types of things make headlines. And then you get people on social media that run with it and they're like, oh, look what these drugs cause. And it's like, but like we said, there's so much misuse and abuse that is causing those types of things. But when you do it correctly, there's nothing but improved health outcomes across the board.
And that goes back to even like talking about like people are like, well, I use research companies because it's so much cheaper. Yeah. And like we know, like I would rather pay more for quality assurance. Like we'll talk about like all this other filler that's put in stuff with like mercury and all this metals and stuff. Like that's just as dangerous. And people are more worried about saving some money to get a cheaper option.
Yeah. And well, that's a good point, because a lot of times it is, people just look at the amount like of the peptide. Let's say it's like Tirzepatide and it's, that's the amount that's in there is what it says it is. And they're getting good results. But like you said, that there's no checks and balances for the impurities, the toxins, the sterility, like all the stuff that you would worry about, like injecting into your body.
Yeah.
And, people all day long, you can talk about COAs and stuff like that, but that doesn't prove anything. Like those are, we know for a fact those are faked so much. And so, there might be good sources, whatever. But yeah, I mean, as an adult, I feel like paying for something that is
that you're
like
injecting
good quality
into your body
and that's regulated is worth it.
I think what's really important, especially for like what we're always talking about and treating our patients, is to talk about how it affects your hormones when not used properly.
Yeah. So it's just like any sort of severe like caloric restriction, like it's going to cause a lot of like downstream issues. And so like when people have these negatives from these drugs, like it's important to remember that like it's not the drug, it's the severe calorie restriction. And so when people do that, your body naturally is going to slow down its metabolism, right? It gets into like a survival mode. You super restrict calories, it immediately starts slowing down your metabolism. And so, we talked about this before, but it's like a double whammy for a lot of these people because, let's say like thyroid, something like thyroid specifically that really gets downregulated from doing that. And so you're eating way less calories and you go off these drugs and all of a sudden your hunger comes back, but then you have a super slow down metabolism on top of it. And so like
The
that's where a
rebound.
lot of this rebound weight
Yeah.
like occurs. And so, when we talk about like stressing the importance of making sure you're optimizing your hormones at the same time, it's like that goes such a long way in preventing that rebound from occurring. And we see it all the time where it's like we have patients that, whether it's we taper off or sometimes we don't even need to because they're already on such a low dose, but then they just go right back to, like they go off the medication and then they're fine. Like they don't have any sort of rebound. They don't have any sort of like repercussions. Like they just go about their life.
Yeah, and we have quite a few patients that use it for other purposes, like, lowering their inflammation levels. We have that one female patient that she started, she's, postmenopausal, and she starts her hormones within 3 weeks. She came in here super excited, not because she lost a couple pounds, but because her inflammation has lowered so much that she's not like taking ibuprofen every day, Tylenol. She's not like running around with heat packs on her and stuff like that. So, overcoming some of this negative information that's out there in regards to the GLPs, I think has been very, very hard. But we've seen it. Like we've seen men come in where their hemoglobin A1C is from like 6.7 to, 5.5 in just months. And
yeah, great point. I think it's easy to forget what these drugs were originally intended for, which is improving the insulin resistance. And so, that's pretty much the main reason that I take it, and I used to take metformin a long time ago to help with, insulin sensitivity, and these drugs blow something like metformin away. And so it's like, we know that insulin resistance is the root cause of so many disease and cancer states and, age-related decline. So like we talk about hormones and everything we can do to improve insulin resistance, or I guess I should say insulin sensitivity. And these drugs do an amazing job of that.
Yeah, especially for our PCOS patients too. I see that all the time.
Yeah.
Which is hard because you have women coming into you and they're already going through perimenopause. So they're having like the unwanted weight around their waist and whatnot. And they're trying everything, or they were doing everything they did when they were in their 20s and early 30s that was working. And now they've been deficient in these hormones for so long that they're doing all the right things and not seeing any improvement. So I always encourage them to look into something like this to add in to just help get things started.
Yeah, I would put these, and it's something I probably plan on, like I said, taking like indefinitely and obviously trying out the new versions as they come out, because we know they're just going to keep coming out with new versions. But behind, like we talk about testosterone, growth hormone, and thyroid are probably the three main things that I'll always take. And this is probably the fourth one in terms of like what I would list on importance of things to be taking would be one of the GLPs.
No, I agree. And I can tell in myself too. I have to take a lot lower dose and not as often, but still I can feel a huge difference with my inflammation.
Yeah, I think that, talking about something like Tirzepatide, which is the most popular, it's my favorite. I think I just, we've tried Retatrutide from different sources and, no, we don't offer Retatrutide. So like we always get people in the comments asking, like, it's not something we offer, but we've tried it from different sources. And I personally like Tirzepatide a lot better. I think it works a lot better. And so for now, like that's what we love. And of course, that's what we have all of our patients on. But using Tirzepatide as an example, like, anywhere in that like 5 milligram to week dosing, I think we have probably the majority of our patients are probably in that umbrella, and most of the time we split dose it. But I think that, somewhere around there usually works great for most people, like long-term, that you can be on it kind of indefinitely with no side effects, great results, consistent results, and, really no issues.
Yeah, and we have plenty of patients like myself that are on 1.5 once every 10 days.
Yeah.
So I think that making sure, like everything else that we talk about, understanding that it's not a one size fits all.
Yeah.
And what works for one person might not work for you, and that's okay.
Yeah, exactly. And we do we do have people that do more than that, like we said, and it's, like I said, everyone's different, but it's all about, just like with hormones, like getting the maximum results and balancing that against any sort of unwanted side effects. And that's where you kind of find your, optimal dose at.
Yeah. And I think for me, like I learned that I need to be making sure that I am like taking enough fiber and getting my greens.
Yeah.
And then also my protein intake. Those three things are really, really important that I need to concentrate on. And so that has helped me with other patients along the way if they have any sort of negative symptom that I have experienced myself.
Yeah. I'm glad you said that, because I think making sure, we talk about protein a lot, making sure that you get enough protein in that. that I think is kind of the obvious one, but fiber is something that doesn't get talked about a lot that I think is super important for people to make sure that they're getting like adequate fiber intake when they're on these medications. And so I think that, most people are very like, don't get enough fiber anyways in their diet, let alone when they're taking these things. And so that's super important one. And it's like, these carnivore, like low carb type diets are super popular right now. And so people aren't getting much fiber in general. And so that's super good that you mentioned that because it's important for people to know.
That was one thing I just had a talk with one of my daughters because she's doing that right now. And she was telling me that she feels like she's going backwards because she's always had constipation, but then addressing her hormones really helped. But now doing this, she feels like she's going backwards. So
fiber's so important. And that's, I think, that's probably the big reason why a lot of these like carnivore diets long-term people end up kind of in a worse state of health than they were like long-term. Like, it's great for losing weight fast if you want to, but just long-term, it's not good for your health.
No, it's not. But we always recommend like get some current blood work. Like try to address the root cause of what's really going on or even understand what's going on so that you have a full picture before starting something like this. I feel like a lot of times that's what kind of makes us different from other places. We're not a weight loss clinic. We're a health clinic and we're optimizing hormones first. These are just tools. These are add-ons to help and really understanding like, a lot of women don't know they have PCOS.
Yeah.
And so that's really, really important to understand. Like you are trying to do all the right things and not getting the results for a reason.
Well, and I should note, like the GLP-1s are hormones. And I think a lot of people don't realize that, but they are hormones. And so it does fit in perfectly with what we do. And we talk about like we're optimizing hormones, like you said, for like maximal health benefits. And so when you look at it that way, like these fit in perfectly to that when we're talking about optimizing hormones. We're not a weight loss clinic. Like we're not doing it just for weight loss, but it's improving insulin sensitivity, reducing inflammation, right? Like all these things that affect long-term health.
100%. That was like the other day, somebody reached out asking if we helped with fertility. And it was like, no, we don't specialize in helping people with fertility. But if you get to the root cause of taking a look at what's going on with your hormones and get your insulin resistance under control, a lot of times it's going to be beneficial.
Yeah. By default, we end up helping people with their fertility a lot, but that's not what we aren't a fertility clinic.
Exactly. Yeah. So, but I think this is a topic that we hear all the time, and it's really important that people understand how to do this the right way and the safe way, and working with a team that has their best interest in mind.
Yeah. Like I would say, I would never recommend doing a GLP-1 without making sure your testosterone and your thyroid are both optimized, along with all the other hormones, but just, doing the things we talk about with like the protein and fiber. But hormones, like I would never recommend doing GLP without making sure your hormones are dialed in.
I agree. And it's hard sometimes when we see those patients come in, they'll do their blood work, we have a consult, and then at the end of it, they're like, I don't want to address that. I only want to do this.
I will pretty much guarantee that if you don't address your hormones, like you might get good results while you're on the GLP, but you are not going to sustain them whatsoever when you come off.
I know. And we've seen that a lot. Like always, I want to thank you for joining us today. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.